This guy has had his legendary runs in the past. This guy has had great success in the past. Consistency is perhaps not his strength, but he is somewhat unpredictable. And I'm looking to see what he can do here against Nurchio, because I'm sending Creator.
Oh. That's a cool pick, actually. There was a period of time when Prime was carried by two players, one being obviously Marine King Prime. It's even part of his name, you know. But Creator was also a really, really top-notch player at the time. Is he for Jin Air currently?
He's currently on Jin Air, yes.
And I mean, to be on Jin Air, you can't be a slouch, so...
No. It's a very small team, and yet a very successful one.
And yeah, he doesn't get a lot of show time, but there's a period of time I remember him still playing for Prime, and I think he played the most games in Pro League and still held like a pretty decent win ratio. But like one of my most memorable visions, I guess, of Creator is he's beating somebody that he definitely wasn't favored to be. I think it might have been Zest.
Yeah.
And he's like screaming at the top of his lungs, like in his booth while beating him. Like he was so happy about it. But yeah, nice pick.
Yeah, this will be interesting. And this is something unpredictable, I think, for Nurchio. This is why I'm interested to see how it does. This is very much throwing a curveball at Nurchio to see what happens. That's what I'm intrigued to really see whether or not Nurchio can handle. I mean, honestly, he probably can. He is not someone to be thrown off by a weird opponent. But this is definitely an opponent he has not had a lot of experience playing against. So, to the northwest position in the Blue Trunks playing Protoss. Here on Frostelli, it is Jin Air Creator. Versus his opponent to the southeast position, the current King of the Hill. In the red trunks, the Slayer of Korean Terran. Can he do it again against a Protoss? From Team Expert, it is Nurchio.
You know what I love about this tournament too? Like, everybody can kind of say like, oh look, foreigners do stand a chance, but this honestly isn't foreigners. This is like Nurchio. Like, this is Nurchio just decimating, and I hate to lump all foreigners thinking that they can beat like the top Koreans, because Nurchio, honestly, he deserves so much extra respect as a foreigner. Like, his practice environment isn't as neat. He's on a team like lone by himself pretty much. Like Euronics Gaming, he's pretty much the only international player that they have, so it's not as if he has like team practice partners in a practice house and stuff, but he's managing to go...
Sorry, I keep assuming he's on Expert because that's where the rest of ASA went. Oops,
oh,
my apologies,
yeah, no.
I screwed that up completely.
It's cool, but like, yeah, I can't even say like, hey, this is like foreigners doing really well. There's a select group of foreigners, which I talked about earlier, but he is easily one of the best of them. He is like one of the scariest foreigners, so being able to see the best foreigner that we've had in a long time go toe-to-toe with the absolute best Koreans, because they are the absolute best Koreans, and we haven't seen this happen for a while. It's beautiful to see. It really is.
Yep, it is going to be a lot of fun. And again, apologies to Team Euronics Gaming. I did not mean to misattribute your player. That's where most of ASA went to Team Expert. Nurchio's still on Euronics. I think, as you said, isn't he the only player still on their roster?
I mean, they have some German players because they're a German team, but yeah, me and Firecake left, and they primarily, I think they're focusing on
It's most of the amateur division, isn't it? Yeah, it's just Nurchio and Hanfi right now, and then they have a large amateur division who are pretty much all German Protoss, actually, weirdly enough. But there you go. They have 6 German Protoss by the looks of it. Yeah.
Quite a few.
Interesting play from Creator. This is exactly kind of what I would have expected out of Creator. He's known for throwing some weird stuff into the mix, but also for his Stargate build. So we're seeing that coming up in the back of his base here. And I love the application of Stargate versus Zerg. I sang the praises of the Phoenix build last month when it was able to decimate some of our best Zerg players. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to get here out of Creator.
What's interesting in this matchup, so being cross-spawn, it's obviously good for a Zerg. He spawns further away from his opponent. I guess one of the sad things is his overlords don't get near his opponent in time for anything, so he doesn't really get to scout much, whether it's like Nexus first or Gateway first or what have you. So he'd have had to have used like one of his Zerglings to get across the map, which he didn't do, but he's playing very, very cautiously here, is Nurchio, and he's just getting up Queens, got a couple of Lings out, like now he's got speed, so now he can navigate the map without running into Adepts and dying, but this is 3 Adept Oracle pressure. Like, this is something that you see in... Oh, wow, he's getting his third up very fast, too.
Yeah, he is.
I like this. Like, so far, this looked like a PvT-ish build. But, yeah, I'm curious to see what he's going to do. And Phoenix after the Oracle. I like it.
Yeah, there's definitely a degree of greed here, but the amount of map control he's going to get, and he has a very fast-moving army across a very large map, and it's going to be a pain for Nurchio to handle that, no doubt about it. And it's a bit... I mean, how greedy do you actually think it is from Creator? Is it really as greedy as it looks?
No, not at all. With the Oracle, like any kind of Ling Flood, it would be thwarted. You're dealing pressure, you're getting to scout continuously. Like, I tend to find the term greed misused. Like, if you're constantly scouting what your opponent's doing and you see that you're safe to play greedy, is it still greedy? I think it's just safe, smart play.
Yeah, it's a totally good point there. It's maybe we should look at like the opposite of that. That it's not over cautious. You know, you're not playing so cautiously because you don't know, and you're actually just playing the way you should based on having more complete information.
Right. Like I don't think there's anything too greedy about this, honestly. Like he's seen everything that he can see, and he's not potentially going to die against anything. I mean, this Oracle's getting to scout a lot of places. This Phoenix is now picking off overlords around the map, and you know, he was never looking to die despite playing what you could class as greedy. So yeah, I like this start from Creator, but also Nurchio. He doesn't seem to be thrown off at all, and he's been able to get up to a pretty decent drone count. He's getting roaches out now. Double Robo. Now, that's interesting.
That's and also, Creator.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that I invited him is that, you know, while his form hasn't been brilliant lately, he is quite unpredictable in terms of his builds, and I wanted to see what he would bring out in an environment like this where it is literally a best of one. But yeah, Double Robo is not what I expected to see out of him at all.
I mean, it's became more common for sure, this double Robo play, like getting a lot of Immortals, getting this big clumpy army of Immortal, Adept, Archon. We've seen a lot of different play from Zergs recently too, like Snoot will always opt for this kind of Lingbane Ravager style and just completely flood your opponent, whereas Nurchio, he's been a guy that I don't feel he's truly found his niche. He's kind of very similar to how he is in ZVT. He has multiple styles that all seemingly work for him. Mm-hmm. But if I look at this, like this double Immortal production, he's getting charge as well, he's getting decent upgrades, and he's against Hydralisk, getting Hydralisk range. I'm guessing this will eventually end up Lurkers, but on a very large map like this, I'm curious to see how it works out for him.
Yeah, you're totally right. Lurkers are just so incredibly powerful in this matchup, but with so much space, you have to concentrate them in an area where they will do serious damage. When there's so much real estate available on the board, and you're playing against a Protoss who is poking you from every direction and taking full advantage of the space of the map, one has to wonder how effective that can truly be. We're seeing Charge being added into the mix here as well from Creator.
Charge is decent. Like, he has a Warp Prism on the map, correct? Yes, he does. So as this Warp Prism's at the south, so Charge Zealots running into a base, they're very, very scary, especially in this matchup. And if you're against only Hydralisks, if you have enough Zealots to take them down, you're in good shape. But, you know, Nurchio, again, he's just kind of showcasing that he defends exceptionally well. And here, disrupted nothing, and it's going to take a bit of hull damage from this Queen, not too much. So, Creator... Oh! Okay.
So the Oracle going in, but yeah, we do see the Hydras moving in. That could have been a nasty... Actually, it was a nasty spill, wasn't it? It went down.
Oh, you didn't see it? Okay.
I missed it, sorry.
Nurchio was so good that he had extra Hydras in place to take out the Warp Prism upon exit. So, yeah, that Warp Prism got thwarted very hard. Okay, nice. So the counter for Lurkers is Disruptor play. And you see this huge gas count. This is going to be like 10 plus Lurkers once that Lurker Den finishes, and if you've got a lot of Immortals and a lot of Archons, sure, you can deal with it, but because Nurchio's had a superior economy for much longer, he's going to hit this timing which he just overwhelms his opponent, and once you spend all your gas on the Lurkers, you start just flooding Lings in, and it's like one huge overwhelming attack, and the fact that he's getting Storm...
he's not going for Disruptor Tech, is he? He's going for Storm, which is a bit unconventional, to say the least.
Yeah, that's cool against Hydras, it's okay against Lings too, but ultimately, what I've seen against Lurkers, you need Disruptors, like, or you need overwhelming Immortal Archon numbers, which he doesn't really have either just yet. Like, that is a large amount of Immortals, sure, but Oh, where are these lurkers morphing in? Okay, I thought they were morphing in at this north tower. I was like, oh,
No.
that's kind of risky.
Yes, they are out of the way for the time being. That large Hydra army is going to be able to get back on a creep. Creep spread has been exceptional. I mean, getting halfway across the map on Frost with creep by 9 minutes is impressive, to say the least.
Oh, look
That's
where
gonna
these
benefit
lurkers are going.
Oh, they're actually heading around to the side, and it looks like they're going to attempt to flank. And this is actually a completely undefended flank of Creator here, and he's got to back off. He's going to have to, otherwise that third base is going to be devastated.
If I was a Zerg, I'd be really worried about like a counterattack just going across the middle, but Nurcho is not worried at all, and he's already in position. Like, okay, how do you engage this? Like,
Not from that side, you just flat out don't. I mean, I think you just lose the third at this point. That's an overwhelming number of lurkers. He does get the vision on them, which is going to help, but he needs to land multiple storms on these things, and in doing so, he has to run into a volley of spines, and he loses the third in the process and pulls out, and I mean, Nurcho could just back off now if he wants, but I think he's going to go for the kill. Oh god, he's repositioned the lurkers, so Creator's lost any form of ability to contest that third area now.
And, you know, you said, like, this vision helps, but he hasn't really been able to utilize it at all.
No, he hasn't got the range to do so, right?
Yeah, and I mean, this is almost like giving you vision of what you're going to die to, which is kind of almost scarier. Like, more lurkers being made. Also, spine crawlers being made at home.
Then he would have been able, if he got rid of that Overlord and maybe used the high ground, he would have been able to do some damage to that. And yeah, they are heading back, but their third is gone. That's not good.
In Creator's credit, he has survived. He lost a base, sure. He lost. He didn't lose too many probes though in that. Like only 6
he
probes
didn't.
died.
You're right.
And his immortal count's getting higher. Like going to this side, it really meant that you have to run through a choke with lurkers to try and kind of finish off the job. So I feel that Creator's actually bought quite a bit of time. He's also getting his +3 weapons, which is a big deal. But now Nurture is getting into a position which this could be sick.
Oh, good. Oh, he's lining up. Here we go. I mean, that was a nice sort of horizontal spread here for Creator, and a lot of storms landing down as well, doing significant damage to the Hydras. Although this is a very precarious position. The Immortals now opening fire, and there are so many of them. There's 10! 10 Immortals. Storm again in the center of the Hydra force. So far, so good. There again is the vision put into play. Another great storm. Keeping the lurkers back for the most part and minimizing the damage he takes. There hasn't been that big critical one lurker volley that just rips the heart out of the Protoss army.
This is again a very different style of ZVP that we're seeing from Nurture. You know, it's literally Hydra Lurker.
Yeah.
With good upgrades, but I'm not sure if this is something that the creator's used to playing. Honestly,
no.
And, I mean, he's actually handling himself pretty well. I mean, he's up to 200 supply. This immortal count's getting really, really scary, but dealing with lurkers and dealing with hydras, you need very different units. And one thing that screams out to me is just Disruptors counters all of that, but
it
you
does,
see none of it.
Here's a big warp in the center of it, and with that amount of Immortals, he thinks he can crack it. Is he right? We're about to find out. The barrier shields go up, but there's just too many hydras, and with no storm... That was so weird, because the Storm was doing so well, and then he took them out of the mix.
Look at this production tab, too. We have 23 Hydras,
He's committing to that hard, isn't he?
Yeah. This is... Okay, you know how I talked about in ZVT how Nurture maybe has one weakness? It's that he kind of tunnel visions when he can win and what he's going to win with.
Yeah.
And it was very obvious that Maru thought, I'm going to pressure him, I'm going to see him like fall apart to this, and obviously didn't. I'm kind of curious as to whether Nurture makes the same kind of moves in CVP, but, you know, he's at a point in this game where he's taken out most of the good tech units that he can get away with this, and look, this is Starship Troopers style.
It really is. You know, they are salting the walls, and Nurture would certainly like to know more at the moment. He'd like to know, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to stop this? You're going to keep building Immortals? I'm going to keep building Hydras then. You had Storm earlier. Where did that go? I mean, that would have been much more useful, but the Immortal count is starting to fall, and I think that has cracked the nuts. GG. Nurture with a very unusual style against a very unusual Protoss, and that was just a weird game all around.
You could see the effectiveness of it, though, right?
It did work, yeah.
I mean, there was some chunky storms on that army, but Nurture made it work. Like, the damage output is incredibly high from that Hydra Lurker army. All those units deal incredible damage. Lurkers actually have a surprising amount of health, but they die very fast to Immortals given that they're armored. But one thing that I was really kind of sad that I didn't see, but maybe it's just not the meta over there, is Disruptors. I really feel Disruptors would have been the key to even remotely trying to deal with
Absolutely. No doubt about that. You know, that's the great way to crack the Lurk account. But you know what? I think the earlier Storm is a great idea. And the weird point is that he had what he needed, I think, to deal with those Hydras, and then he just stopped building Templar in favor of just more Immortals. And Nurture recognized that and just went, oh, you're just building Immortals? All right, I'm just going to build more Hydras then. Where's your Storm gone? You're not building it anymore. I can get away with this.
Definitely. And it's not as if, like, if Immortals group up, it's not as if Lurkers can't kill them either.
Oh, they
like,
totally can, yeah.
Yeah, they definitely can. And one of the nasty things to see is when Lurkers just get overwhelmed. Like, the Lurker player takes a far too early engagement, and then he just falls to mass Immortal Archon, and it looks really silly because it's just moving over it. But
yeah.
What we saw there from Nurture was just like really, really clean play, and he knew exactly what he was doing. And it's not as if he's pulling out these surprise, cheap strategies. This is just how Nurture plays, and people need to learn that Nurture is a beast, man. And if you are to enter these international tournaments, it's not just the Korean styles you need to worry about, but it's these foreign Zergs, man. They have such good styles.
Yeah, they do. Nurture has just been around for so long that I think his library of builds has gone to the point where he can pull out so many different things, and it's very hard to predict what he'll do. And his decision-making is impeccable. He did the exact right thing against a kind of weird style from Creator, and Creator certainly was able to get some early success in that matchup, but eventually he was overwhelmed. Losing that third and then having no real way to take that position back. Using Storm, but then switching over to Immortal when his opponent was still building a large number of Hydras didn't seem like a great choice.
No. I'm no PvZ expert on either side of that matchup, but what would you mean? Certainly not. But like, no, like
you see, I immediately realized I said that. It's like, yeah, I just insulted him. No, I mean, I'm certainly not either. You know, I'm absolutely not. No way in a million years.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at that, and you know, you can think of ideas in your head that you're like, yeah, like, but that could work, right? But then it just doesn't. Like, it doesn't translate properly. But I've seen a lot of Protoss players go up against Nurture. Like, it's one of the matchups I get to see. I used to be his teammate, for example, so. It's almost like when you support a football club, if a football club you have no relation to, let's say you like think of them, you see no weakness, right? But as soon as you're on their side, you get to see their weaknesses and stuff. And I've definitely seen Nurture susceptible to either disruptor play from Showtime, or like this kind of over-flooding Immortal Archon pressure, like big flanks from like Drogo, for example. But yeah, we saw neither of that coming out of Creator, so I think that's just a style that he's not played at all, honestly.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Creator was an interesting spanner to throw in the works there, but it obviously was not enough. We're going to take a short break, folks, and when we come back, we're going to see who can beat Nurture. Will it be a South Korean player? At the moment, it doesn't look like that's likely, or maybe it will be one of his very own countrymen. Who knows? We'll find out after the break, folks, here at ShoutCraft Kings. Everything's a mystery. We have no idea what's going to happen, but Nurture was on a tear. Let's find out if he can keep it going. After this break, folks, don't go anywhere. ShoutCraft King... You see, that was going to sound really cool until I fucked it up. ShoutCraft Kings continues. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ShoutCraft Kings. Quite enough of that silliness. We are back, and we have another challenger. Nurture kind of spoiled it a little bit on Twitter, but not too much. Not too much. He said, the only person who could beat me is a foreigner. Challenge accepted. I found you a foreigner. You may regret saying that. This is a guy who has had a fantastic career up to this point, considered to be one of the strongest foreign Terrans of all time. Great success. And making his debut appearance here in Kings, it's the one and only Team Liquid Bunny.
I like this pick a lot. Bunny's super duper nice guy. Like, there's not a bad bone in his body, but when Bunny is on song, he has been a guy that has won tournaments. I mean, I remember a final of him against Hyun in the final, and yeah, he battered Hyun around, and
he really did.
He's just a really nice guy and a solid player. He's kind of been studying recently, but I know he's currently at the TL boot camp.
Yes, he's
training
boot camping
hard.
right now. Yeah, that's actually what I heard, and I'm intrigued to see as a result of that what his play is going to be like. Looks like Nurture is ready to go. Actually, asking Bunny about apparently he's starting school next month by the looks of it. So it looks like he might just be doing like sort of one big push before his education. Now, weirdly enough, he hasn't put on incredible results this year. Like, 2015 was an amazing year for him. He did win the Copenhagen Games quite handily, 3-0 against Namsha. And that was fairly recent. But outside of that, not too many huge results from Bunny this year. I'm sort of interested to see what state he's in at the moment.
He's definitely always been like a very capable player. Like so the Casper Cup happened yesterday.
Indeed.
So Bunny actually knocked Showtime out, despite like Bunny not really touching the game for a little while, and then he just goes up against one of the best foreign Protossers and knocks him out like straight away. And
impressive, yeah.
Showtime actually just retired from the tournament after getting owned by Bunny that hard. So yeah, Bunny's always been a guy that can just show up to a LAN, and then he can beat these guys that have been practicing their butts off. And I think StarCraft really comes down to, if you've ever had a period of time where you practiced your ass off, like I'm talking 10, 12 hours a day, that never really leaves you. That being said, keeping up with builds and stuff, that's a different story. So what we may see from Bunny is something a little older, but the way that he'll play it really well still.
I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. This is a classic matchup between two of the best foreigners in the world. It can only mean fireworks. And to the southeast position here on Apotheosis in the red trunks, your current ShoutCraft King with 3 wins to his name, having taken down some of the best in the world already. This guy's on a tear. It is Team Euronics Gaming's Nurchio versus his opponent to the northwest position in the blue trunks, making his debut here in the ShoutCraft Kings tournament. In the blue trunks, playing Terran, it's Liquid Bunny.
Okay, this is so not freaking Bunny style. Like,
What
I was gonna talk about how Bunny's this nice mannered guy, never cheeses, always plays a nice macro game and stuff. Like, this is almost like Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader, given that Nurture can be a bit of that guy, But no, Bunny's whipping it out. Kind of unfortunate for him is that
he's about to get scouted.
Yeah. And I mean, this is quite popular. There's 2 places that you can proxy. One is behind the gold of your opponent, and one is here. Unfortunately for Bunny, Nurture scouted this one.
There's 3 barracks here. I mean, he's whipping it out so brazenly. I want to call this the Harambe build, but at this point, it's been scouted. What can that possibly? I mean, that's still a lot of stuff, but that's been scouted. What can possibly be done here by Bunny?
Well, unfortunately for Bunny, Nurture also went for a pool first build.
Yeah.
So, in every sense of the word or phrase, Bunny has been blind counted here to a T. And I mean, Apotheosis, like this, I guess this is one of the nice things for the winner. Like, he gets to pick the map as the maps go on. But Apotheosis is incredibly imbalanced, that like the only way you can really win against a Zerg is by cheesing them, especially if you don't feel you're as good as them, because if this gets to a macro game on Apotheosis, it's just the Zerg has a third that's a gold.
Yeah,
like,
that's hard to deal with at the best of times, especially when you open this way. It's like, economy, what's that? It's got 17 SCVs, and that might be all he ever gets at this point. There are going to be 5 Reapers. Unfortunately, there's Roaches. Reapers are not known for their prominence against large numbers of Roaches. We'll see what damage can be done here. I mean, the grenades will be helpful, no doubt, and he may be able to do some economic damage with it, but he's going to have to do something with this.
He lost a Reaper already. This has already gone bad. Like, hypothetically, like, what... okay.
Dear God.
So, I mean, this is going about as bad as it can for Bunny. Like, he's against a pool first. He's also against a player that... Oh, he's going to get third Reaper
He's
down.
got another Reaper on. Yeah. We might be rapidly going on to our next game at this point.
This is one of those really, really sad instances where it's like... He went for a cheese. He went for a very unorthodox style for Bunny, honestly. But Nurture read him like a book, and... Man, I really don't know these two's history of playing one another, but this just felt like Nurture knew exactly what Bunny was going to do right from the get-go. And it is Apotheosis. By the way, there's one thing that Nurcho does almost better than any Zerg when dealing with this. Do you see his target fire on these Reapers? He's never, ever, ever attack moving them. He will target fire them every time. Like, if you attack move Reapers, even if you get 3 down to red health, those guys regenerate very easily. Yeah. So, like, why would you attack move them when you should just take down one at a time? So, it takes a little bit more effort, but the reward is always there. So, watch every time that Nurcho fights these Reapers, he's going to focus on that. Boom! 1 down.
Yeah, just smack. One after another, which takes the advantage of having that big regenerating HP pool away. Yeah, assuming there was any advantage for Bunny here, which there isn't at all.
No. Game paused. Beep, beep.
Yeah, very important for him to get a little bit of time out to rethink his strategy here.
I mean, he's lost 6 Reapers at this point in time, which, considering you're doing a Reaper all-in, you're 30 supply against 60. This is not good, TB. This is not good.
No. I'm trying to think of a way out of this, and I'm fairly sure there isn't one at this point.
Like, this was one of those games that, like, very unfortunately for Bunny, in StarCraft, you obviously don't know what your opponent's doing, right? But this game was almost lost before Bunny knew it was lost, purely because of how they opened up. And I mean, it's always sucky being pessimistic and such. Like, Bunny has also kind of handled his Reapers quite poorly, but also Nurcho's handled his units very, very well. But just the openings, it was a good, like, let's say 80-20, 90-10 situation for Nurcho to be in. And also the map doesn't help things for Bunny.
No, it does not. And that's King's advantage. That's just how it goes. People ask, why don't we see more cheese in ShoutCraft Kings? Well, this is why. Because if it goes wrong, it goes horribly wrong, and you have no chance of getting out of it. And that's you done in the tournament. You know, it's often better just to open up standard and give yourself more opportunities. Because if you're going to toss a coin that ends up on heads, well, you don't get to toss it a second time. And I'm not sure what the pause is for. I imagine it may even be just to piss Nurcho off at this point.
Maybe. Like, yeah, I'm unsure. There was, like, no reasoning behind it or anything.
No, not really.
I guess I can talk about little things that Nurcho did also, besides the pool first. So, upon taking damage on Roaches too, you shouldn't just make Ravagers instantly, because the Roaches there, like, say if you take a fight and you've got Ravagers, once those Ravagers take damage, that health isn't really coming back. Like, don't think about getting a transfuse anytime soon in this kind of situation. Like, you're just trying to pump out as many units as you can. So what you want to do is you want to get your Roaches as bruised as possible, and then morph them into Ravagers. Also, obviously, I talked about the micro, like how you want to micro against Reapers. You want to attack click rather than attack move. It's a big mistake that a lot of people make, but it definitely makes all the difference. And we're resuming.
Keyboard broken. Yeah, not... I mean, I don't know if that's an excuse. I don't know if it was broken during the process of that. I'm going to assume probably not, but...
I'd imagine that after the 6th Reaper died, Bunny made Bunny smash, and, you know, despite Razer products being pretty decent and stuff, they don't survive the might of Bunny.
No. Bunny known for his violence. You can tell just by the name, really.
Yeah, Bunny is known for his violence. Once I saw Bunny just rip a dude's head off.
Oh. This is the ideal time for Nurcho to start to, like, plug his own sponsor. Like, who sponsors Euronics? Let's find out. Who's the keyboard sponsor of Nurcho?
Are you finding out now?
Yes. Actually, Euronics Gaming is literally only sponsored by Red Bull, I think. But oh no, SteelSeries and Zotac. So apparently, buy a SteelSeries keyboard, not a Razer keyboard, folks.
Gosh, shameless.
Totally, yeah. Well, I mean, Nurcho's not really known for his patience in these situations. I think this is going to rile him up quite a bit, because he probably thinks Bunny is dead, and I agree with him at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we talked earlier that Nurcho tends to try and win games because he knows he can, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he will, like, too early. You know what I mean? Like, he tends to ram his head against the wall. So I guess the one thing that Bunny could take into account here, like, honestly, this is one of those moments where, say if casters were hyping this up to be, like, a super close game and stuff, and there's still a good chance and what have you, I'd be like, man, shut up, you know this is over. But there
are times you've got to do that, and then there are times you've just got to face reality. This is not a time when you can safely say that's going to be the case. Like, you just look at the situation. Economically, behind. He's just borrowed Snoot's keyboard. That's a bad idea. Snoot's got a very burrowed into Snoot's keyboard. He has a very bad cold right now, so Bunny could contract that, which would make this match even harder. But economically, the Terran's in a terrible position. Tech-wise, the Terran's in a terrible position. Army size-wise, the Terran is in a terrible position. His production is on the wrong side of the map. I don't care how creative you get with casting, I don't think there's a way to say that Bunny really has much of a shot here. Like, he'd have to get godlike grenades, like blow up the entire army of his opponent.
Yeah, I mean, he could technically pick off this army with good nades. Like, I've seen other Terrans make short work of... Yeah, but he's gonna need, like, a good 7 miraculous...
Yeah, and since he's missed every last one of them up to this point, that's really not helped. There we go, and he actually gets a few in the middle there, and he gets into the center. He needs to really focus down that Ravager. There's a good one. Okay. What? Is he? No, he can't make... The army's gone. Oh.
Buddy!
He's doing damage! Damage is being done! Now he's in the center, and there's more roaches on the way. I mean, he's done some damage, nowhere near enough to win the game, but, I mean, he's shown a spark of life, at least.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that was some nice Bunny micro. I mean, he took out an army that he technically shouldn't have taken out, but this again, look, this focus fire again by Nurture.
Yeah.
He keeps doing it. Like, it's something that there's going to be rules for certain matchups, certain situations, but one of the rules that Nurture's got triggered down, and honestly, StarCraft players come down to just that, like rules and formulas.
So a few good grenades coming out right here from Bunny. He's somehow starting to make this work, but again, there's just more roaches coming out, and I think that a loss of each Reaper stings a lot more than the loss of a roach in this position, considering the economy.
Definitely. Like, what Nurture wants to do here is control the high ground. And so, like, you can't micro up against a ramp like this.
Oh, no, that's not where you want to be. All the grenades miss, and he loses a couple of Reapers in the process, yeah.
3 sets of focus fire there, 3 Reapers down. Like, any lesser Zerg would not be doing that. But no. Nurture is so good. He's got his upgrades rolling even. Like, I mean, that's totally unnecessary. But, like, 86 supply against 37. He's on 3 bases now. Like, if you told Bunny, hey, your opponent's on 90 supply, Bunny, like, he's pretty good right now.
He would tap if he knew.
He probably doesn't realize the situation is as bleak as it is.
I mean, it is horrendous. There's been a couple of decent moves. You know, that was a great grenade, but you're going to just need salvo after salvo of amazing grenades to make this work, and the supply count tells an ugly story. We're seeing a tech transition here from Bunny. He actually does have, and he's building a 3rd base as well, cheeky. Just trying to get away with whatever he can. But I just don't know what you follow this up with. Oh, the Roach just got right on top of the Reapers. They're done now. Like, he doesn't have anywhere near enough. He's bringing the barracks back. The +1 Carapace already being in the mix made the Reapers almost useless against the Roaches in the first place. But, well, I think Nurcho is saying the playtime is over.
I think so too. And what makes that armor upgrade even more valuable against these Reapers work on having 2 attacks. So each armor, and this is what I really like about Nurcho 2 here. Look, you see his bruised roaches, like he just morphs them into Ravagers, and he's continuously doing that on the way to his base.
His grenades are not doing anything.
The focus fire on the SCV. Oh my god.
Oh, he gets it just before it finishes. That's a disaster, because that means he can't lift it off and get it out of there. And you can't afford to lose that in this position. Another SCV, he tries to finish it. Tries to use the grenade to propel it towards the command center, which was a cool move, not enough. The 3rd has been cancelled. Not what you want. And, well, now comes the March of Inevitability.
This is, it was a sad start, and it's a sad end for Bunny, unfortunately.
Yes.
Like, this wasn't Bunny necessarily being super bad. Yeah, he microed his Reapers a little bit off at the start. Like, he tried to be a bit too, he tried to deal too much damage, but honestly, the builds just worked against him. This was him trying to be a little bit cheeky, and honestly, it was kind of a sick read by Nurcho to assume that was going to happen. Like, I guess maybe he knows Bunny's a smart enough guy to know that playing Orthodox on Apotheosis.
Yeah, you think the map choice has got to have a lot to do with that, right?
Right, yeah.
And here it comes. Just that's the end, I think. The March of the Zerg coming in. Bunny's going to get run over right here. Cute, but let's just say this game was longer than it should have been thanks to pausing, not thanks to Bunny's capabilities. That was a little depressing. But hey, now we see why cheese isn't used very often in this tournament.
Yeah, if you think about how much these guys practice in But like you have it in your head, like you have percentages, right, of like which maps can do which strategies. It's like, and these guys have got it settled down. And right now in Legacy of the Void, there's not super cheeses that work.
No,
all the
really
time.
aren't.
Like if you remember the Roachbane Ling era, where you just like Roachbane your Terran opponent because he's going 3cc, like that was a very, very good cheese because it was pretty much like, hey, every Terran does this strategy right now, and this is the perfect counter to it. But right now in Legacy of the Void, even though there are multiple builds and stuff, there's very standard builds that are pretty much safe against everything. So you take the Beyond build, the 2-racks thing, that doesn't really get cheesed out very often. In fact, kind of at all. And there's definitely builds out there that, like, cheese-wise, it's just not as effective these days. Also, obviously, we're starting with 12 workers rather than 6. That's changed a lot of things to do with cheese.
Legacy did a lot to really clamp down on that, and I assume that was probably a deliberate design decision from Blizzard to try and make cheeses more risky and harder to execute.
Definitely. I do miss the proxy 2-racks builds,
yeah,
like seeing Zergs get bunker rushed. But I think the game is fundamentally better right now than it ever was.
I certainly think so. I think it's showing the better players more often as a result of that, and it's evened out the consistency of the game a little bit, which is beneficial to the competitive aspect. You know, I think you can maybe make the argument that it's a little more exciting when you have a few more cheeses like that. You know, that's a great moment in a tournament, especially in a best of 7. But I think that overall, competitively, the game benefits a lot from evening out that early game.
Certainly. Man, it's kind of fun. Like, obviously StarCraft and who's winning what can all come down to the day, but it's really interesting that this ShoutCraft has really seen 2 players shine.
Yeah, very streaky. Extremely streaky, which last month it was not. You know, the maximum streak achieved last month was actually 3 maps only. No one got further than that, and we've already had 2 players beat that in this event so far.
Yeah. I'm looking forward again to see who's next against Arta.
Oh, it's gonna be a doozy. Again, it might be a world first match. Actually, I'm just checking a legal act to see whether or not that's true. There's very little reason why these guys would have met up in regular events that I can say for certain. We're just currently waiting for our other player to head on over to the correct server. And we're just waiting for you as well, I believe.
Oh, which server? I didn't get a message.
Popped on over to NA.
Okie dokie.
But it's okay. The other player isn't here yet. But what I want to see here very much is just to see Nurchio's capability in multiple matchups and see him play against unfamiliar opponents. Because, weirdly enough, I think that's actually advantage Nurchio.
Hey, have you got a Zerg for him, TV?
Maybe.
I mean, you said you want to see him in multiple matchups.
I might have done that. Is that cruel of me?
No, I mean, if you want to test something out, you stress test it, right?
You absolutely do. Yeah, you put it under stress, you apply heat, and you see what happens.
And I mean, if you're going for it might be a world first for them, like a match first kind of thing. I have to go with like somebody out of the region, given that Nurture plays in absolutely everything in Europe and such.
Well, he doesn't play against this guy. I can tell you that for a fact. I don't believe he ever has. And after this, he may wish that he never has to again. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Jinair Rogue.
Sexy boy.
This is going to be interesting, to say the least. I think Nurture's going to think by the end of this that I hate him. It's like, why do you keep doing this to me?
No. I mean, you were really mean with, like, so sending him on versus Beyond, and then he beat Beyond, but then instantly giving him Marrow after. Now, that was mean. But
it was to prove a point. I knew he could handle it, you know? I am a sensei. I'm putting him through these tough trials knowing that he's capable of it.
I mean, Rogue's really tough. Like,
yup.
Even when Zergs have gone through bad patches, I've always felt Rogue has kind of held the flag a little bit. Like,
he's an innovator, very much so.
He was the first Zerg that was owning mech with like Mass Viper style and stuff.
Yep.
Like he made it look very easy. But in ZVZ, you obviously have to be really good to beat a Zerg that stands out in Korea. And Rogue is definitely one of them. Like for a while, there was obviously Maru and SOS for Jin Air Pro League. But Rogue was always like a third contender. Like now they have Cure, or they've always had Cure as well. But Rogue and Cure, I felt maybe on a little tier below Maru and SOS. But Rogue was like a Zest sniper for a while. So
yeah, he was.
Rogue is definitely up there as one of the best Korean Zerg. So this is cool. This is cool.
Yeah, a unique matchup, certainly. Something you don't see every day, may never see again, so enjoy it. We're going to see some of the best Zerg on display here on King Sejong Station. To the southeast position from Jin Air Green Wings in the blue trunks playing Zerg, it is Rogue. Versus his opponent to the northwest position in the red trunks, your current king of the hill from Euronics Gaming, it is Nurchio.
Now, whenever you've seen Koreans, or in fact, yeah, Korean Zergs against like European Zergs or foreign Zergs in general, you've always seen like a cutthroaty kind of style from Koreans. Like, if you remember the days where you start off with 6 workers, there was always like 15 hatch or 14 pool or 9 pool, like those kind of things. You know, like it was kind of rock paper scissors.
It very much was. You know, it was considered for a long time a coin flip, and
yeah.
I used to hate it. I got to be honest. I used to hate casting ZVZ. IPL 5 actually did make me quit casting for 6 months because of the finals. Because it was just not, it was a best of 8, yeah, go figure. Zerg versus Zerg. After watching every Terran die to Broodlord Infestor, actually, yes. Yeah, watching Pulse furiously and yet hopelessly struggle against now an unstoppable style. Rogue, 3 hatch before pool.
Well, how times have changed, TV. I mean, from 9 pool being a very, very big threat, but like, yeah, Koreans, like, I tend to find when I watch other matchups, I obviously enjoy them, but not as much as Terran, but I used to see, like, there was a very much gentleman's game going on between foreigners that played, but then the Koreans came over, and, like, that style definitely swept the meta, where it was like, yo, you can do 9 pool to counter that crap really, really easily, and it's like, oh, really? Then everybody started doing 9 pools and stuff. Like, it was really sick to see. But here, we obviously have 2 very different styles going up against each other, and Rogue, he's opted for this very early 3rd hatch. Now, you may be thinking, like, oh, well, economy-wise, that's going to be really good, right, for Rogue? Well,
you'd think.
Not if you can't get, like, obviously not if you can't get it going, but he's going to have speed much later. Like, his hasn't started yet. He's still getting the gas for it. Queen-wise, too, like, will he be able to afford all 3 queens at the same time? Yeah. Will he
what if he loses one? What if one gets picked off by an early speed Ling run by? That would be awful.
Right. One of the big things here for Rogue, and I guess he is going to be able to afford his 3rd queen if he wants. Yeah, okay, so Larvae won't be a problem for him. But Nurcho, he's opting for this very quick Baneling nest as well. So what you tend to find a lot in this matchup is a lot of early fights, Ling Bane control. He's also seen this 3rd base. Like, he got to see that creep before he actually saw the hatch, so he knew it was there. But now the ball's in Nurchio's court, and he wasn't making too many drones. He's making 1 now. He's actually making a 3rd too, so he's going for a bit of a later. Ooh, gets a drone kill. Gets out of there too.
Yeah, that's a lovely little start. That's the kind of precision scalpel work that you want. And right now, if you're Rogue, you don't really want to be out on the map with these because speed's going to kick in. Thankfully for him, there are no follow-up Lings.
I tell you what, though, like, even though you've got a 3rd base down, it doesn't necessarily mean you're mining much faster. Like, we see both these guys on very similar drone counts. Like, it's 8 to 8. And even though Nurture's 3rd is going to be later, he's going to have the Ling advantage here for quite some time. Even saves those Lings in the middle of the map. Is he going to save them? Oh, Rogue actually did micro. So these guys doing everything they can with what they have. Now Rogue is playing the defender's role. So they're going to have very similar drone counts. Rogue is working with an extra queen than Nurcho currently. Slightly
Rogue's
less
evacuating
Lings.
his 3rd already, you know, seeing that that's going to be a potential threat here. Great positioning here by Rogue with that queen. Excellent reaction to that. And now, of course, catching Nurchio's Lings in the crossfire and doing great damage in the process, and a Baneling in the mix too.
Yeah, I actually... Oh, this Ling run by in the natural, though, getting 2 drones. I mean...
Not bad, but he committed a lot to that, and of course now he has nothing to defend those Banelings. They've got to back off.
I tell you what, though, while all this was going on, Nurcho was droning up. So now, despite having a later 3rd...
Oh my god, yeah, he was. Jeez.
Yeah, so even though you thought, like, that looked... Oh! These Banelings, okay.
Not too bad.
obviously in this matchup, this is very similar to TVT in the way that, like, tanks can obviously turn the tide significantly. It's like banelings can too. So this all comes down to micro here, and we'll see how well they both do.
He goes right up the ramp and then immediately backs off, you know. That wasn't indecision, that was him realizing, oh, actually, I really don't want to be up there. He wants to try and take out that third base if he can, get it. A single Baneling moving in to defend. Detonation misses, tries to get the 2 Banelings, but it doesn't get it. Rogue now actually does have to back off. He's actually going to lose an Overlord in the process. Not ideal in a mirror, certainly. 10 drones again coming out. Nurchio, wow.
That's what I was going to say, like, amidst all that, Nurture was so confident to hold that off. He went for 10 drones all at once. He's now popping down his Roach Warren. I wouldn't be surprised if he's... In fact, this he's got a little Ling run by, so he sees a lot of Lings being made.
Damage.
Gets some drone kills as well. 2 drones. In fact, 7 drones.
7 drones total, yeah. He hit the third base while all that was going on, and that was actually surprisingly poorly defended. Yeah, that's bonkers. That's absolutely bonkers.
But, I mean, he's got several Banelings.
He's relying on his Banelings only here. Like, that's all he has right now. There's a huge Ling run by the way.
Banelings too.
This is going to be... Oh, how good is Rogue's control? I guess we're about to find out, aren't we? It comes down to these Baneling trades for the moment. And, of course, Nurchio buying time.
I tell you what, though, Nurchio so far is handling this like a beast, man.
He absolutely is.
These Banelings are only being used to get big clusters of units. Drone-wise, 48 drones to 33 of his opponent. He's literally got like a 50% drone lead.
Which is ridiculous. Absolutely insane. When you think about how this match started off with the 3 hatch before pull, like, Nurchio having the economic lead here, just that way he's handled this has been impeccable up to this point. And even getting damage done in the process. You know, he's done everything he shouldn't be able to do. What a... Wait, what? Whoa, what did I just miss?
It was in the main base of Nurchio. Some Banelings snuck in.
Actually got there. And Rogue actually gets a surround of the Queen that's out of position there. First chance that we see for Nurchio to make a little bit of a mistake. Some economic damage done. Now it's evened up a little bit, especially after losing that Queen. So Rogue finally finding a weakness.
That was a massive explosion. That was 9 drones, and I believe it was only for like 2 Banelings. I didn't actually get to see it. I just heard it.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it on the side. I'm like, wait, how did that Baneling even get in there? Like, how did it sneak? That's a slow Baneling that made its way to the main. I mean, how did that happen?
I think he ran in Lings, then morphed them, you know, and then ran into the mineral line, and he was distracting Nurture with absolutely everything. And
lovely surround here by Rogue. Fantastic. Yeah. Picks off the Ravager at the front, gets out of there without too much damage being done. I was looking at the state. We're now going to Roach Ravager Wars at this point. And Rogue's still behind economically, even after that big detonation. You know, he's taken a couple too many run-bys.
He's behind economically. He's also behind tech-wise. Like, Nurchio, he's got an Evo chamber, so he can start his +1 weapons and such, too. He's also got speed on the way, which is a big deal. He also made really good reads. Like, he started making battle units a lot earlier. He's getting a Spire.
Wow,
now,
okay.
No unit can shoot up out of hatchery tech besides the Queen for quite some time. And this army that's moving out across the map against Nurchio, it's not exactly scary for Nurchio either. Like,
no, because Nurchio has, like, he has a smaller army, but not that much, and he's got defender's advantage as well. So he's in a pretty good spot right now, especially if speed kicks in. Too. Yeah.
So we're watching this. He's not got many Banelings, which are obviously really good against Zerglings. And that, in fact, this is a huge army by Rogue. This is massive. He actually cancelled his Spire, I believe, just to get more units out.
Yeah, he's going for it right now. He's fighting into that choke. He hasn't managed to get many good Baneling connections, but the Biles haven't landed on the Banelings. However, the Banelings now lining up, and he's really not getting many connections at all. Now the Roaches get into the center, but they actually fall into a concave from Nurchio, who appears to have the edge here, and Rogue's army is starting to bleed out. Nurchio has the numbers, and that attack failed disastrously.
Nurchio's a god. Nurchio's a god. Like, that was all very nice play by Nurchio. Even despite losing like 9 drones in his main to a random Baneling, he went for a later third than his opponent, but he did a little bit of damage, he did a little bit of poking, but he made excellent reads. Even down to like getting the Spire and cancelling the Spire just to get out a few more units. That was just really good decision-making by Nurchio. Also, you can't count out his micro. Like, he'd constantly run in just a few links just to pick off a drone or 2 here and there. And, yeah, exquisite play by him.
No doubt. What do you even say? You would think that Rogue would pose more of a challenge to Nurchio, but Nurchio never really seemed to break a sweat.
You just have to be in awe of Arthur, man. Like, there is a reason why we call him Godchio in the foreign scene, man. Like, this guy is amazing.
That he is, no doubt about it. Well, well, well. Nurchio has basically won every matchup I've thrown at him. He probably doesn't like me right now, but he's certainly taking a lot of money from me, so I'm sure he's not too worried. He's on 5 maps. His streak is being against some incredible players. Makes me think who exactly could possibly deal with him right now. It almost seems like it's going to be a known quantity at this point, because surprise players don't seem to do a damn thing against Nurchio.
Have you got a player in mind?
I've got a few. I've got a couple of ideas at the moment. We did have a player in mind, but he doesn't appear to be on right now. It seems like he's a little late to the party. We'll wait a minute or so. If he doesn't show up, we're going to have to switch things around a little bit.
If there's any matchup that I would think that Nurcho is, you know, kind of he can lose in, it would be ZVZ, honestly. But
yes, that was what I was thinking as well.
But do you just want to keep sending Zergs at him because they're the most likely to take him? After taking down Bjorn and Maru, like specifically those two, his
Don't
ZVT...
send Terran, apparently, is a bad idea. I mean, maybe a very strong Protoss, you know, because, yeah, okay, cool, he killed Creator. Creator's not the top Protoss right now. There are some other possible opportunities, I think, here.
It's almost sad that Bjorn's run was so good, you know, like taking down Innovation and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Pinning Innovation against Nurcho would have also been super sick. I'm obviously Terran biased here.
Well, I mean, I think you're going to get a great ZVT if Nurcho's involved in it. Whether or not you'll get the Terran actually winning it is a different matter entirely.
Bjorn and Nurcho just picked off so many good Terrans, man. Like,
God, that's... I'm looking at the roster here, I'm thinking, you know, Nurcho could be anybody on this list. He genuinely could. There's no doubt about it. Whether or not he can and will is a different matter entirely, but he certainly has the potential to do it, and the thing is he's beaten them in the past as well. The crazy thing is that he's getting these wins against people he's never played against before who are top tier, and that's what really surprised me about it. I think that's a mark of a truly exceptional player to be able to do that.
It's funny. I really think Nurcho is the kind of guy that, say if you were a Pro League team, you could have Nurcho on your roster and he would instantly be in your A team, you know? Like, because I honestly don't think there's... When you think of players out there and you're like, oh yeah, no, he definitely owned Nurcho. Like, I can't really think of one guy that is like that.
I can't either, really. Not specifically. I mean, we can. In fact, I'd love to know exactly who is, you know, Nurchio's bane at the moment. And of course, Illegalak would probably tell us that. Weirdly enough, it's Bly. Apparently.
Wait, does Illegalak also just say it's his nemesis purely because
I think that's him a lot? Current rivalries, actually, no. Actually, I think he's actually got 14 maps up on Bly. Historically, his biggest nemesis has been MMA. MMA won 54 maps against him, apparently. Creator, according to this, is... Unless these are very recent. I'm actually kind of unsure as to how they rank this.
Let's have a look. Rivalry. So, yeah,
Bly's actually beaten the crap out... has lost to Nurchio repeatedly over the course of the years. So, yeah, that's not it.
Snoot and Nurchio are very close. So it's 64 to 72 in favor of Snoot. But, I mean, even that's close, you know?
It is, yeah.
It's very funny seeing just, like, Nurchio's recent win history. Like, the only series he's lost recently was to Marine Lord. And I feel that Nurchio's one of those guys that, say if he goes into a series and he loses a map, but he feels he lost it kind of like... I don't want to use the term unfairly, but... you know, something went obviously wrong, then he just kind of like can tilt really bad. But if that doesn't happen, you're looking at a real contender of a man, you know.
Really damn hard to beat someone of that caliber. We're just confirming whether or not we have our next player. Because I don't want to announce him. Okay, cool, he's on his way. Excellent. All right. Well, again, another unexpected player here, another unusual matchup. And I think, if anything, that's really what you need to take down a player of Nurchio's caliber. Making his debut appearance here in ShoutCraft Kings, we have a player from SK Telecom T1 that I'm very excited to see. Very solid all-round player. His name is Myungsik.
That's actually a good player. So I obviously don't get to play against Myungsik too much, but Myungsik is one of those guys that people don't tend to like losing to in Korea, and I saw like a lot of kind of BM being done to him, like mana mules and stuff going on, and apparently he's a guy that doesn't like losing on BNet, and he can be kind of flamey.
Oh, okay.
That being said, he joined SKT, and SKT is one of the best teams of all time, kind of thing, and he stepped it up a lot recently, and I can't remember which league it was, but he definitely came like top 8-ish or so, and he's been looking a lot more consistent. Like, when I think of top Protosses, like in my head it was Zest. He's had a little bit of a slump recently, but you know, you've got like Zest, CJ Hero, Stats, like those are your real premier top Protosses, but Myungsik isn't too far off them, and
well, he's murdered all of them recently. Like, his run at GSL in the last couple of months was just ridiculous. 2-0 CJ Hero. Actually, 2-0 regular Hero, my apologies. 2-0 Stats, 2-0 Dia, 2-1 Maru. Beat Stats again in the Pro League. 3-2's Gumiho, only falls to SOS in a PvP.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How did I forget SOS? Is one of my
just
elite
Protosses. Just an absolutely crazy run from him. It's been, I think, one of his strongest runs of all time. Like, I think he is currently at his peak rating.
Yeah, it would be, if anybody argued against that, I'd be like, Like, yeah, he's really good right now, and I remember for a while, like, Myungsik, whenever I watched him play, I'd think, like, something gimmicky, he's going to go Stargate, or multiple Stargates, you know, and it's going to be kind of like, ugh. But he's solided up, man. Like, you said it was Maru, the Terran, that he beat? I think I remember watching him in a series against a Terran, and he abused the crap out of him. And it wasn't even with Stargate play, it was just like, he did pretty cool play. It was on one of those maps that I was kind of unsure about, but he proxied a gateway. He had multiple adepts in his base before he even knew what to do about it. So yeah, he's a really good player.
Myungsik is ready to rock and roll. I have no idea what to expect. Let's rock and roll, ladies and gentlemen. Frost LE will be the venue for our next encounter. Myungsik currently at his peak versus Nurchio, currently on fire in this event. After a couple of false starts, certainly, for Nurchio in ShoutCraft Kings, you know, he's attended each tournament, not done really well in any of them, and now he's finally found his footing. But he's going up against a very unexpected Protoss, of course, you know, yet another SKT1 player. It's going to be pretty damn tough. Let's see what happens.
Didn't he beat somebody before he fell to Stefano?
I believe he got one kill.
He
wasn't it Beyond, right? No, or did Stefano beat Beyond?
Yeah, Stefano beat Beyond, Nurchio, and CJ Hero. He definitely beat some Korean, and I think it was a Terran, but
I can't quite remember who that was, and I will look it up right now, in fact. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did get a map win. He's just hasn't really found any streaky success as of yet in this particular
Until now.
No, not until now, absolutely.
Now he's got a few victims on his sheet. Maru, Beyond.
Yeah, he did get 2 wins, actually, before he got... Yeah, of course, he knocked off Dia and Gumiho before losing to Stefano. I mean, yeah.
Those are no slouches.
No, not bad. Not bad. Can he kill another Korean Protoss? Let's find out. To the southwest position in the Red Trunks, ladies and gentlemen, as you're carrying the hill with 5 wins on the board. Already going up against something a little bit interesting. He is Euronix Gaming's Nurchio. Versus his opponent to the southeast position from SK Telecom T1. In the Blue Trunks playing Protoss, it is Myungsik.
Again, no professional in this matchup, as you confirmed earlier. But like opening up 2 gateways as part of your wall on Frost. If I didn't know, in fact, I don't know better. Like I honestly don't know what he's going to do with this. Like the second gateway is going to finish around like a little bit before the cybernetic skull, but I have to assume this is going to be for some early adept pressure. and you're against a guy that's going pool first. You're going to get a scout off with your probe. You're going to get to scout your opponent first as well with this probe. Like, this is a pretty nice deal for Myungsik, because dealing with 2 adepts, sure, queens can deal with adepts in equal numbers pretty convincingly, especially with transfusers, but 2 adepts so early on, he's going to look to deal quite a bit of damage with this, I'd have to assume.
You would certainly think so, and that's a pretty good idea, but Nurchio has shown a distinct resistance to early pressure up to this point.
Certainly. I mean, one of the strengths of adepts is, and especially against queens, you can't be everywhere the adepts are at once, right?
Yes.
So he's got the decision to make here, like, which base does he attack? Because once he's in a base, he's going to deal damage. Like, there's no way you can't. Oh, so this third is going to go down on the 3rd location. The adepts didn't go that way. How many lings are out? We got 2 lings, 2
Not
queens.
very far.
Uh-oh. This is where things can get a little bit dicey, I feel.
Yeah, it may be slight underestimation of the firepower available here for the Protoss player, although the queen flank here has been excellent, you know, getting some great damage in there, taking very minimal damage, but there are more on the way.
And I tell you what, though, Nurchio so far, even though he's taken... Oh, that... In fact, this has dealt 4 drones. I wonder... Oh, and more adepts join the fray.
Indeed, yeah. I thought there might be a bit more of a follow-up here, and that might very well do the job. It's a shame they walked out just at the wrong time, right into the center of a drone surround, actually. So that was a nice catch there by Nurchio. 6 workers killed total for the cost of 4 adepts.
I would actually say this is good for Nurchio now.
Yeah,
like,
it's not bad. It could have been a lot worse.
It could have been a hell of a lot worse. And if we think about the commitment to this, so not only are the 4 adepts dead, which is 400 mineral. In fact, how many adepts died in total? It was 5 adepts.
Yeah.
In fact,
I can't
4,
remember where the
4.
5th one died. Yeah, yeah, right. It's total 4 units lost, 500 resources gone, a few workers killed.
But
it's not bad.
Now, like, what does he really do from here? So he's going for Adept Glaive upgrade.
Very
Nurchio
early
hasn't
on, too.
spotted
Yeah.
that. But
that's going to be good against the roaches. That'll certainly help there.
It'll be. I mean, it's a great upgrade to get, right? But what does he plan to do with it next? Because he's got no warp prism, meaning that he can't warp in on the other side of the map. He's got 2 gateways ready, so he can keep making adepts. But and look, Nurchio's seen this army now, so he knows like what he's up against, how many adepts. He knows the move out too, so we should see a few extra units being made from Nurchio. I also love the fact that Nurchio's already got his creep tumors
Double
rolling.
Stargate follow-up.
I like
That's
this.
a sneaky move, you know, knowing your opponent's going to have to commit quite heavily to roaches. That we could see some really cool Void Ray action coming out of that. He actually warps back, decides, you know what, checks the 3rd and then leaves, doesn't commit.
I was about to think that was going to be the most, like, gangbang drone of all time, you know, but, like, that drone does survive. Nurchio's still droning up. He's also kind of made this wall at his natural, which is cool. And making a spore, too, so he's obvious, and he's making it in a position that says to me that he's cautious about DTs.
Yes, yeah, he doesn't know. He doesn't know what the follow-up is. And I mean, to be fair, we were confused for a moment until that double Stargate, which that's not going to get scouted in a while. That's a great position for it.
One very big thing, and I talked about this when I talked about Myungsik. Like, one thing that he almost always does is Stargates. He loves Phoenix. He loves airplay. And this double Stargate play, if Nurchio's done his research on Myungsik at all, and I mean, I don't watch a lot of PvZ, but I know Myungsik likes Stargate, so he should know that this is definitely an option. Not one that he's necessarily practiced against a lot in the past, but it's definitely an option from his opponent here.
Great defensive timing here by Myungsik. Throws down the pylon, throws down the overcharge just at the right time. It's going to drive all of those links away. Looks like they will all die, though having those there to a last-ditch run by is always nice, just to see if we can get any scouting information out of it. So far, we do have the Phoenix already shown on the board. I mean, there's 4 on the board. I have professed my love for this build multiple times in this matchup. He's going up to 6. Now he's adding on the Robo. This gives him a huge amount of scouting information, huge amount of map control, and it denies so much info to Nurchio as well, because those Overlords have to come in.
Oh! Whoa, he committed
That
to that.
was a big commitment without, you know, and without the Phoenixes there to help either. He now gets the lift up, but that was an overcommitment and clearly is not working out at all. A lot of adepts are going to die on the way out for really not much gain here.
No, and I mean, he's still kind of fighting these roaches. Is he going to get away? He does get away. So, I mean, he lost quite a bit there, and not really for much gain. I'm kind of curious as to like whether he just wasn't looking at his army flying in there.
That seemed like a mistake, honestly. It seemed like it was a little bit too brazen. It's like, well, what did you intend to accomplish there with that many roaches on the board?
Right. Like,
if you had your Phoenixes there with you, you know, you could have lifted up half the roaches and that would have been a more even fight, but he didn't. So,
no.
It seemed like a bit of an error.
Phoenix count is growing very, very quickly. Like, Nurture is definitely going to have to have clued in on the fact that this is double Stargate. If it's single Stargate, you found in the previous expansions of this game, you would maybe get up to like 5 or 6 Phoenix max, depending on different eras of time, but this is a huge investment. So, the fact that Nurture is still just producing a lot of roaches... Oh, look at this counterattack too!
Yeah, he's just overwhelming the third base right now, and there's actually just nothing on the ground to deal with that. The Adepts just warped in, and the third base is potentially going to go down here. The shields are down, and a couple of Adepts being brought in. The Phoenixes having to be brought back here. All of the pylons are down, so no overcharge. But now, of course, you can do the lifts. The Phoenixes are great for also bringing in for defense. They can fly incredibly fast across the map to respond to this kind of thing. But Myungsik, of course, is caught off guard. Supply block, a lot of economic damage being done here. Morlings tries overwhelming the ground force here. There's really not much of a ground force left, but with the pylon overcharge, there is enough to hold this. A solid defense, but he loses the third in the process, and Nurture's going to be pretty damn happy that he took that out.
Massively happy, and like back at home, what damage did Nurture really take? Yeah, the
Some
Phoenix,
economic, but not much.
Yeah, the Phoenix were in the main and they dealt a lot of damage, but it also meant that their energy is completely depleted. Like, if another fight is to happen pretty soon, even though Phoenix in good numbers are pretty good against Hydras, if this Hydra count reaches a pretty phenomenal number, he's not going to be able to deal with this at all, and one Phoenix does pop. Good
Look at what's in that War Prism. That is an unusual composition. That's 3 Sentries and an Adept. Unfortunately, did not send his Phoenixes around that corner, so that actually gets spotted.
Is he hoping to do the ultimate cheesy play here?
Oh, wall in. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what he's trying to do. Here comes the warp in, and he's going to block off the reinforcements and try and take out the main. And with the Phoenix backup, he could decimate the main with this. This is quite the maneuver here by Myungsik. He's going to have to keep those force fields up, not let things through. He could do a lot of damage here. Oh, he let them through! Or did he do that on purpose? He split the army in half and then quickly lifted up the Hydras. But of course, there is now a Ravager in the mix, so this doesn't work as well as it did in Heart of the Swarm. The army is coming through now. Myungsik trying to fight it. He doesn't have enough. He's going to have to get out of there, but he has killed 17, 18, 19, 20 workers. Workers getting slaughtered at the third. He did an Adept run by in the process while Nurture was committed to defending the main. That has done devastating economic damage to the Zerg player. What a maneuver.
Oh my lord. You know, I didn't even see that happening, and I'm an observer.
Neither did Nurture.
Yeah, very obviously. I mean, that Warp Prism in the main was a super threat, and Nurture handled it. He morphed in Ravagers, got rid of the force fields, but man, the amount of damage that those Adepts did in the third rather, that's insane. And Myungsik, all of a sudden, he's back in this.
Absolutely. That was devastating economic damage. It's exactly what he needed to make this work. He now has to build up a ground army because Nurture's pissed, and he's on his way across the map here, and he's picking off a couple of Adepts in the process. Obviously, the Phoenix count is good, but another warp in. Wow. Okay, he's committing hugely with these Phoenixes. He really wants to do some damage here. Picks off some of the Hydras, which is a great move. You know, weaken that force and make your Phoenixes all the more powerful. Nurture's having to back off. So this is really great for Myungsik. It buys him so much time to get a ground army up.
Oh, this is really, really good play by Myungsik. He's always trying to fight away from these Spore Crawlers, but
Is
Phoenix going to get out? They are.
He might lose one on the way out, but Phoenixes are tougher than they look, and he actually gets out without losing a single one. And before missile attack level 2 was done as well. So that's great. That bought him time to try and reestablish that third and to get a solid ground army on the board. I mean, he's got Archons in the mix now as well. This is the strongest position I think we've seen anybody against Nurture up to this point.
You know, this is a... And also, this looked so down and out for Myungsik, but that one play where he killed all the drones on the third, that really swished him back into this. And
that third base may go down again. I'm a little worried about that, but Myungsik is refusing to let it go down with double overcharge. Phoenixes, of course, threatening to come back. Oh, I love this little double Adept run by. You know, do a little bit more damage, force the reinforcements to wait. And, of course, Nurture has to back off again. And that's exactly what Myungsik wants. He needed that third base established. He's bought the time to get it.
And these Roaches, they don't get a lot better in this matchup. Like, he's going up against a lot of Immortals. and he's quickly trying to transition into lurker tech here. Like, his economy isn't super good. He's on 52 drones. He's still just making battle units too. He's not really droning up much more. He's putting up a 4th. The Phoenix count is severely diminished, but 8 Phoenix is still a
That's
lot
still
of
great.
Phoenix.
Yeah, and that works. I mean, there's a lot of Hydralisks, but they do kill Hydras very, very quickly. You know, it's kind of mutually assured destruction on that end. Here's what I'm concerned about with this immortal count getting very high, that we're seeing a similar situation with Creator, because we're seeing the Hydra Lurker build again. And an overcommitment to Immortals could result in Nurchio taking a really strong fight that Myungsik isn't prepared for, because there's no disruptor tech. I mean, we're seeing charge, for God's sake. You know, we're not seeing anti-lurker tech right now.
The difference between this game and the Creator game is Myungsik has been in Nurchio's face, and the economy has been constantly crippled. Like, what's the total worker kill? 46 workers have been killed this game for Myungsik. And
he's going to lose that Prism, isn't he?
This immortal count, he's like keeping up in supply relatively with his opponent. I mean, he's not massively behind. It's not as if he's going to be at 140 supply against 200.
No.
But you're right. Like, how is he going to deal with these lurkers? And we'll see. Upgrade-wise, too, Nurchio's way ahead of his opponent here.
2-0 versus... I mean, that's actually one thing Myungsik has missed. Yeah, there's no upgrades at all. He went for... Oh, God, 10 lurkers on the way. He went for that glaive upgrade, but never the +1. That's going to take a while to get that ready. Oh, the Phoenix has run into a wall of spines. They're going to have to back off there. We see a large Zerg army here with lurkers. The immortal count is silly high, but with the right positioning, I don't see how Myungsik's army can get to grips with Nurchio's.
This is going to require a huge kind of like flank. Like, if you can get a 180-degree surround on this, cool, but look how Nurchio's positioning himself. He's positioning himself in this funnel. You can only attack this from one side, really, so great positioning by Nurchio. It's
going to be difficult, and Myungsik is just staying on the edge of the lurker range right now. And he's going to have to figure out a way to handle those. You know, he can't go right into that. And the use of the lifts is proving to be effective here, grabbing Hydras and Lurkers out of the ground here. And the Immortals are just marching forward. The actual amount of damage these Immortals are able to put out is ridiculous. And now, of course, he gets the vision. Now he can lift the Lurkers up with the Phoenix.
God.
Key moves right here from Myungsik. The Archons get to grips. Everything is getting blasted by that AoE. And Myungsik puts on a clinic of how to deal with that.
Yeah, like... The main difference here was the immortal count was really great here, and he went for it, man. And
the Phoenix was so crucial as well.
Yeah, those pickups were really key. Like, how many pickups did he do? Like, good 4
5 or
so
6
at
least, you know. And
yeah.
that takes half the firepower away. Getting that Oracle out to make sure he gets the vision, and then immediately grabbing the Lurkers out of the ground. And then getting the Archons underneath that bunch of Lurkers, you know, to just deal huge damage. Oh, he's going in with the Hydras. He is not happy right now after realizing that that didn't work out. But Myungsik's still looking pretty good right now.
And it seems that Korean Protosses go for Storm instead of Disruptors.
Yeah.
Which, the Storm definitely works out against the Hydras. And if your Immortals can tank well enough, you can get your High Templars close enough. I mean, in theory, it can work, right? Like,
yes, absolutely.
Only 3 Phoenix alive for the next fight, though. That's only 3 pickups, and that's if they don't get sniped by the Hydras.
Yeah, the Lurker count isn't quite as high this time around, but, you know, with the addition of Storm into the mix, this could be a very different fight. Myungsik does not want to fight there. That is not a good place to go. He wants to try and defend on that third, and the Hydras go in just to try and pick it off, and there's the big Storm on the right flank. You know, now he has access to that technology. That Hydra count is going to get thinned out. I'm just hoping that Myungsik continues to commit to this, because last time we didn't see Nurchio really have a way out of this tech. Like, once he's committed, it seems like that's all he's going to do is Lurker Hydra, Lurker Hydra.
That's what he's good at, man. And
yeah, it works. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Until you lose with it, until you find somebody that beats you with it and goes for the right unit composition against it, then it's worth sticking with. I love that Myungsik's constantly trying to pick apart this creep, by the way. He's going wherever Nurchio's army isn't. But I also love the fact that Nurchio keeps making lurkers out of these damaged Hydralisks. These Hydras that eat storms and such. And he's checking for a 5th here, potentially. Or is he just going for the same attack position that he did against
all the
Creator?
way around and hit the east? It's a good move. It's the bridge, you know. It's a great choke point for lurkers. And actually, Myungsik is moving out right now. He needs to get into position. He doesn't realize that this attack is coming. The army's managed to sneak all the way around the other side of the map.
This is kind of unusual to see happen, isn't it? Like, I'm almost surprised he doesn't have this little army by the watchtower above the top of the 4th for Creator. But whoa, he's in position.
Uh-oh, he's right on that base. That base is going to get absolutely decimated. The sheer number of lurkers and the amount of firepower, that base is forfeit. The entire mineral line was wiped out in about a second. And there was no way Myungsik could defend that. He was out of position. He couldn't do it. And a bunch of Hydras were lost as they sort of rallied into that army. But Myungsik's, I think he's splitting his army up right now, relying on Storm for the most part, forcing forward with these Immortals. He's a little out of sorts at the moment. I think he needs his army together right now.
I'm not sure if he... Like, how many Lurkers are here? So he gets a reveal on a few of them, but I feel that...
14. That's a lot.
Drones are dying, though. Drones are dying.
Yeah, there was a nice charge lot run by, actually did some economic damage. So that's a good move, but... You know, losing the 4th, and then Myungsik just was trying to find position on that army, he just couldn't find it. It's like, well, how can I attack that? He's adding a Warp Prism into the mix. I wonder if that will come into play in that, or if he's just going to use that for harass. Myungsik now actually thinks he has the means to attack, and he's right, actually, because the Lurkers are out of position right now. Now's a good time to attack.
This is one of the things that I was kind of surprised about Nurcho loving that position so much. Yeah, you get that base, but you're so susceptible to counterattacks, because once you commit, you can't get out of there. But
the question is, how can the Protoss retreat? Because, like, now can't Nurcho cut off the Protoss entirely?
Yeah, how do you come down that ramp against Lurkers? And if these Lurkers can get into position in time, which looks like they can...
Storm into the center, though, and great vision here with the Oracle. A couple more Storms coming. Yeah, you can't go down that ramp now. You've got to come around and flank, and that army is slow, so that third has been taken out now as well. Oh,
these
God.
probes.
They're getting massacred. The economy of the Protoss is going down. Great Storm. Hydra's caught at the back here. Here's the lifts. More Storms coming down here as well, but without the Disruptors to take out the Lurkers. The Archons are caught at the back. Will the Protoss be able to break through? Not without significant damage being done. The Protoss army just got melted. Nurcho just obliterated Myungsik with a key maneuver all the way around the back, saying, oh, you're going to come visit me? Well, you can't go home anymore now. Unbelievable.
And what we talked about earlier too, like we talked about how these players have formulas that work for them, and Nurcho is obviously in his little textbook, you know, of like how to own Protosses on Frost. He's definitely got it. Okay, if I attack from this angle at this base that they take, there's no way they can kill me. And even though Myungsik did the right thing, he used his army, went and did a counterattack and took out a base of Nurcho. Nurcho just said, oh well, you know, I'm actually making a 5th in the top left. If you kill this base, I'm just going to Maynard over. I'm losing way less than you, but I'm also going to put you in an unfavorable situation. And yeah, Nurcho, despite losing 22 drones at one point in that game and it looking pretty close, he ended up looking insanely strong, and he knows how to fight.
That was a very confusing game to watch. You know, some very unusual compositions. And weirdly enough, it seemed like the time to attack, but that one particular position, Nurcho realized he could trap the opposing Protoss army to the point where they wouldn't be able to retreat. It would force the Protoss into an engagement that was unfavorable, and without disruptors, and without a good Phoenix count to get rid of those Lurkers, well, that was it.
Yeah, I mean, Myungsik was in a very unfavorable situation that game, and we have to commend him for getting himself back into it by doing that Adept pressure at the third while doing the Warp Prism. Like, it was kind of a snazzy play that he did, but, you know, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Like, these guys definitely aren't doing the right thing to beat Nurcho right now, because Nurcho is, he's just sticking with the tried and true method. And one thing I want to point out about Nurcho's positioning that game too, like, whenever you get into a position where you know you've got a better army than your opponent, but you also cut off reinforcements from your opponent with your army, that you know's better than your opponents, that's such a lovely position to be in.
That is very true. Well, who can beat him now? I'm out of ideas. We'll have to come up with something during the break. You're watching ShoutCraft Kings, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are right back here on ShoutCraft Kings, and I am officially out of ideas. I don't know what to do! You won't die! Good. Yeah, cats! Go get him! Get him! Get him! I mean, it might work? It's not gonna work, is it? Ben, you seem a little confused.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were talking to me. I felt like you were talking to your... like, as if you were just talking to cats or something.
Yes, I was directly communicating with cats, feeding him the secret strategy to win against Nurcho. Basically, Nurcho has proven dominance in every matchup. A ZVZ versus someone who is very surprising is something that might work to get rid of him, but if this doesn't work, I think Nurchio might be running away with the rest of the money from the tournament at this point.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised that you... Like, if you're picking people to try and beat Nurchio, I'm very surprised at your Cats pick. But it does make sense that you pick somebody that you think is so surprising that it might catch Nurchio off guard.
That's literally the only thing I can think of, because apparently consistency and skill don't matter when fighting against Nurchio, because you just lose anyway. So we need surprise. The element of surprise. That'll work, right? It may. It's possible. You never know what Cats can come up with, and Nurchio has expressed his displeasure for the ZBZ matchup, so Cats, on the other hand, is actually not too bad at it. We will see.
This is just like a David versus Goliath
It
kind
is
of story,
a bit,
though.
yeah.
Like, this is
There's
a
no
rank,
doubt.
This is a like rank or 5.5k MMR-ish NA player against a 6.5k MMR-ish EU player. Like, this is a... You didn't make this easy for Cats at all.
Not really. I like punishing Root. I don't know if you've noticed this. You know, we fed Solo and Panda Bear Me.
Matches or what have you?
Pretty much. You know, we fed Panda Bear Me and Solo to Innovation. You know, now, we're not so much feeding Cats to Nurchio, but it would be an interesting upset. Let's just put it that way. I wanted to throw Cats in. I love watching Cats play. He's always highly entertaining. I was hoping to find a spot for him in the tournament that was maybe more tenable than this, but I don't think there is going to be one. So, you might as well try now, because it's not going to get any easier.
Yeah, I mean, ZVZ is a matchup where you can have the lesser player win, because it's obviously not as build order winny as it used to be, but if you talk to any of the Zerg, like current Zerg players in Europe, and I mean, Europeans tend to be more whiny than most, right? Like, but those guys talk about how being consistent in this matchup is very, very difficult. Like, there isn't one Zerg to rule them all kind of thing. So
No.
if there is a matchup that Nurchio can lose to, especially against Europeans, like Snoots had his number sort of, and that's like a 55% win rate. So even that's not kind of landslidey. But yeah, if there's a matchup that you can lose, it's this one.
Indeed, I would think so. We're not seeing anything too surprising out of Cats up to this point. If anything, you could say, well, you know, Cats is probably feeling pretty fresh right now, as opposed to Nurchio, who's, you know, getting a little bit worn out. Early Baneling nest coming out here from Cats.
One thing that I can definitely talk about here was, so Nurchio went for like a pool earlier than his hatchery, so he got like a, what's the word? He played a little bit safer, I guess, just in case he was up against anything truly gimmicky, and
It's probably for the best against someone like Cats, isn't it? You know, because he can pull that kind of thing out.
I mean, like, it's one of those situations where maybe Nurchio hasn't watched a lot of Cats, but Cats is well known enough to know that, hey, he's been pretty cheesy in the past. He can definitely play a macro game too, but he's a bit cheesy. So better safe than sorry. If you know you are a better player than your opponent, you might as well opt for a safe build, right? Why go for something that you can insta-lose and then kind of hate yourself for it?
True. Absolutely true.
So an early Evo chamber for Cats, that probably means he's going to go for one of the upgrades. I'd imagine armor is pretty likely, given that his gas count's super high.
Should be. Yeah, you'd think so. That's the more practical upgrade.
He lost an Overlord.
Yeah, nice pick off there for Nurchio. He's certainly not going to complain about that. So
Melee.
Nurchio may lose... Yeah, Melee is a bit of an odd choice, certainly from Cats. I'm intrigued to see where that goes. We might see a very low-tech game here, actually.
Definitely could. Like, so Nurchio gets a little scat off in this natural. He sees one Baneling morphing and a Spire.
Doesn't see the Evo chamber, though.
No. Like, if he saw the Evo, that would give a little bit away. But, I mean, what would it realistically give away? So the fact he's going for Melee, that obviously means his Ling's going to be better than Nurchio's, but if you end up running into a lot of Roaches early on anyway, that's not really a good situation. Loses his single aggressive Baneling, so that's not good. Now he's outnumbered. There is another Baneling coming out to the field, but Nurchio sees that on the map, so, you know, just one Ling, going to go sort that out.
Totally, yeah, absolutely. Although that's going to be a nice little save there, and one for the other trade out here.
This Overlord too, I guess
not a good position for that to be, yeah. And Nurchio's going to take full advantage of that opportunity to get that shot. And that actually looked like it was going to be way worse than it was there with the pickoff. That should have hit more than 2 Lings. It looks like it was going to, but evidently not. No luck here so far for Cats, building 4 more Overlords. I'm just wondering, like, what this +1 melee is going to give him. Like, he's up against Roachbane. What is he going to do out of that? How many lings do you need for that to work?
Yeah, there's a few things that I guess you can like talk about in this matchup. Like, this matchup isn't just roaches anymore. Like, no. we've seen that through and through. This is one of the larger maps in the pool, so muta transitions can be pretty good. I mean, roaches take a long time to cross the map, so just because you go roaches and they generally beat lings in a straight-up match, mutas obviously deal with roaches. Also, like ultimate late-game compositions, nothing really kills ultras besides ultras and lurkers. So these melee upgrades can come in later on too. I love the fact that Cats is just sacrificing 1 ling at a time to deal with those
It was fine until he ran half of his army into it. That was actually going really, really well for him. Although this +1 melee is going to mean he gets queens and individual roaches much, much faster than expected. Can potentially threaten that 3rd base.
Where's Nurture's army? Okay, it's marching over to this 3rd now. So
well, the problem is it's mostly roaches, so it's a little bit slow. The detonation goes off there. I mean, Cat's got a decent amount of damage done there. Shame, you know, if he kept sending in that individual ling and took all 4 banelings out, that would have been great. He got 2 of them before he lost a bunch to it, but he's still going to, obviously, with a very ling-heavy approach. Why wouldn't he? He has melee. With a small amount of roaches, this can work. Lovely Ravager morph right there to save that. That was a nice idea. I don't think there's quite enough lings to make this work here for Cats, unfortunately.
No, and I hope that Nurture's kind of clicked on one of these lings. He's good enough of a player to have noticed, like, hey, they have a better upgrade than me, because sometimes if you don't notice that, you try and take a trade that you think you're going to win, and then you don't, like, that can change the tide in ZVZ, but Nurture survives. He survives this pressure. He's now got a superior drone count, not by much, equal tech. He's opting for ranged attack here, so doesn't want to go for that Ultralisk kind of transition, which is a late game kind of thing anyway, but now this is where we'll probably see some deviations given their so far upgrade choices. But this is a slow moving army on the top of the map, bottom of the map, and a fast moving one on the top. So
it's going to get scouted. But yeah. The question is there enough even to stop it? And actually, it looks like Cats is thinking, well, he's committing to a small run by here to try and do some damage. There are some banelings in defense, so that will clean that up quite nicely. Now, I mean, he just needs the numbers to beat this, and there's actually quite a lot of roaches here. There are a few spines up, but he's going to have to bring all his lings back to make this work. Looks to try and get the surround here, and he's able to back them into the corner. This +1 melee will certainly help, because Carapace isn't even on the board here, and Nurture's army is going to get nibbled to death here.
Certainly is getting nibbled to death, but if we look at the supplies, that attack at the top of the map didn't really do much to that
No, it
third.
Didn't. Yeah, the banelings cancelled it really nicely, and Cats tries to send a baneling in there, but Nurture's awareness is top-notch right now. He's seeing those individual banelings trying to sneak past, and he's intercepting them, making sure that doesn't work. And now, of course, threaten on the 3rd here. There's some badly injured roaches, and again, a great surround, actually, by Cats. Excellent surround. Drives them into the corner, but there are reinforcements coming. There's not quite enough lings here to make that work, especially with the baneling backup.
And you know, one of the sad things too, going for those melee upgrades, it doesn't really help against banelings.
No, it doesn't.
Like, these banelings are still going to one-shot lings. If you have the armor, then it's a 2-shot kind of thing. Like, they survive with very little health. But
indeed,
Nurture so far, he's just ahead in every way. Like, tech-wise, I'm pretty sure he's expecting mutas at this rate. I mean, seeing this gas on this 3rd, he also sees 2 gases on the natural. He's got to assume that this gas is being spent on something. So he's just trying to do damage that Cats can never recover
not enough
from.
lings to stop that many roaches, unfortunately. That may have been the overcommitment that cost Cats the game. It's now 64, army supply to 16. No more transfuse is going to save you here. And 3 mutas, that's not going to kill those roaches anytime soon. If he got a few more out a little bit earlier, that may have worked. But, big baneling hit as well. The 3rd is now compromised, and it looks like Cats is, after an interesting attempt, is not going to be able to fell our king.
I mean, an interesting attempt by Cats. I mean, he's massively down and out now. He got all those spines ready because he kind of knew what was going to happen, which was this huge roach flood. But Nurture's, he's not bad enough to fall for something like this.
No, not really.
I mean, even though you made the spines, there's 5 spines there that are the natural that Nurture never even wanted to attack. And I mean, if the spines weren't there, then Nurture would have attacked it. So, I mean, Cats just kind of put himself into a bad situation, and against a Zerg as good as Nurture, I just can't see him falling for this.
No, I don't think so.
He hasn't.
It's a shame that his attack on the 3rd wasn't more effective. If he cleared out all 4 of those banelings without losing half the ling army, that 3rd actually could have died. With +1 melee. And picking off that hatchery may have been a huge deal, but it didn't happen, and unfortunately Cats is now in a very, very poor position. Spore Crawler's now up, and there aren't enough mutas to deal with that at all, so defensively, those Mutalisks are going to be essential, but there's so many queens now on the map. I think Nurchio can do pretty much whatever he wants.
Okay, so queens, spores, they are aplenty. Also, we're getting the melee upgrades for Nurchio, but also he's getting the infestation pit. So are we going to see Hive and Ultras? I mean, Mutas don't really kill Ultras very fast, and given that this is a huge map, that'd be one way to deal with your opponent pretty efficiently.
I would think so. I'm just worried in the current state of this. I mean, there's Hive on the way. It's great to have this control, but the third base now being re-established, I think Nurture just buys his time from here, right?
Yeah, I tell you what would be interesting if the situations were reversed. It would be interesting to see what Nurture would do in Katz's situation. But, like, I mean, what Nurture is doing right now, like going for this third, the Mutas are out in the field.
He's going to catch drones in the process. That third's going to die. The Mutas are far too far out of position to stop this from going down. So that is very unfortunate. Of course, the Lings will get cleared up, but losing that third again, disastrous.
Yeah, and the creep spread's going out for Nurture. It's more important given that he has to move these queens around. He's also got infestors on the way. One infestor is out in the field, so if he can get a good grab once that gets the required energy, that'd be nice. But yeah, this is just a really terrible situation for Katz right now.
Pretty much, yeah. You know, he has this air. How long he's going to keep that air with infestors on the board is a different matter entirely. Maybe he cancels that fourth, which is good, but I think Katz is on borrowed time at the moment.
Certainly is. And this fourth isn't cancelled, but you know, this is just Nurture moving out an army across the bottom of the map. And
God,
guess
the spines
what?
aren't burrowed. The spines aren't burrowed.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the roaches are very slow, but regardless, defending this third is going to be very tricky.
Actually, you know, this attack... Okay, I was about to say, these roaches, if they commit, there's not really anywhere they can go. They're going to run into Mutas.
I'm kind of glad he didn't. But it's just like, yeah, what if you lost that? Because you just get picked up. Now, this march up the top is what's going to be devastating. A huge queen march, plus infestors, plus roaches. Potential game-ending army there. The third is almost back up, and there's actually a fourth going up here, and it's actually ready for Katz. He just needs to send some drones there. It's actually surprising that Katz isn't dead yet.
I kind of want to point out something. This Lurker Den is a super smart move by Katz. So he's also got his fourth up, right? Like,
yeah.
The mining potential from both of them is 50 drones to 46, so it's not as if he fell super far behind. But
no.
we talked earlier about, okay, what kills Ultras? And there's only two things besides Spinecrawlers, really, and that's Lurkers and Ultras themselves. So the fact that he's going for Lurkers here, and he's opting for this very defensive game, it's actually kind of smart. He is going to lose his fourth now, which sucks. In fact, where are his Mutas?
Uh-oh. Yeah, wherever they are, they're out of position. Yeah, they really should have been defending the fourth, honestly. They were hanging around the third base for whatever reason. And the attempted counterattack did not kill Nurture's fourth base, so that's going to be a bit of a problem there. I'm going to see that Ultralisk approach. But yeah, the Lurker approach is an interesting one to deal with that. You're right. This is turning it... You don't see all that many late-game ZVZs that go to this sort of strange tech place.
It's not often you see Katz play in a ZVZ either. I mean, like, this kind of unit composition in general is it is cool, it's unusual. We could see a very kind of stalematey, like, both unable to move, but the fact that... Oh, okay.
No. And yeah, I was going to say, you might want to borrow that sooner rather than later, mate, but now the Lurkers are in position, unfortunately, they're just getting mauled. Interesting that he decided to run right up to the ramp there. Didn't really accomplish much.
They are expensive too. Each Lurker is 150, 150.
I'm not really sure what that was, actually. That was quite suicidal. You were talking a bit about the defensive game of Katz, and then he just throws 6 Lurkers at his opponent, and they just die, which didn't really do the job. He unfortunately also unveiled that that's what he's going for, and now Nurchio can adapt to that.
Well, that happened.
Well, it did, yeah.
I also think a better fourth for Katz to have taken would have been to this left base where Nurture is actually trying to attack now, which I think he also thought about, like, oh, this would have been a good base for my opponent. Because, like, Lurker-wise, it's much easier to spread in, like, a triangle formation, protecting these bases, rather than having Lurkers spread at the top here, at this other fourth that he's been trying to take continuously.
Yeah, it spreads them too thin, right?
Yeah, like, if you have spines and spores and Lurkers spread out in a triangle formation, it's much better than having them in this kind of line. Like, if they're all the way up here, they're not really helping the other bases at all.
No, not at all. And you can't exactly reposition them very quickly without drop support. Speaking of,
Right.
we actually do see that. It looks like we might see a Lurker drop coming out of Cats. There's Vipers being added in the mix now for Nurchio, though, which might very well spell death for any Lurker comp.
Yeah, I mean, a Blinding Cloud.
That shuts
the
it
most
down pretty hard, yeah.
Yeah. It's so effective on top of Lurkers. And I mean, a Lurker drop could be cool, but which base you would really want a Lurker drop right now? Like, the main's mined out, the natural's getting mined out. The other bases, there's units at them, and like there's a huge army knocking around.
Nice gets cancel on the 5th base there, so he's still making use of the meteors, but look at the size of Nurchio's army right now. You know, the only reason he's not attacking is because he's up against a wall of spines and an unknown number of lurkers.
Wait, do you see where this drop overlord's heading?
Yeah,
so it's heading north,
heading top.
then it's heading south.
Where's it going? I think he's having to move it back positionally now to defend. I think because that lurker just got caught out and he's seeing, oh god.
No, it's trying to move through the barricades, it looks like. But he's going to lose his 4th in the meantime.
Yeah, Cats has a worker flank setup, a lurker flank setup. The problem is a little bit too far to position. He's actually not moving the rest of his lurkers. Now would be the time. Yeah, if he had the lurkers here at the 3rd, this might have worked, but he's moving the flank in now. All of the mutas are dying up to the top here. I think this may very well be the end of Cats, unfortunately. His defense was not well set up. GG. And Nurchio takes another win. Felt a little bit like Nurchio was playing with his food there, although I have to say that Cats, like, he showed some interesting ideas, but he didn't seem like he was able to execute them.
Yeah. Once you're against a player that's got Ultras and Vipers, like... So, ultimately, the main thing you use to counter Ultras are Ultras. So, Lurkers are good against everything up to Ultras, but they're not good against Vipers, whereas Ultras don't really have a true counter like that. So Cats was in kind of a gnarly situation, but you can't just run like 7 Lurkers across the map to burrow beneath some spores when Ultras are on top of you already, you know, like it's not going to work. So, I mean, Cats was already in a bad situation throughout that game, and the situation didn't get any better, and rightly so. I mean, Nurchio's not the kind of guy that's going to fall for some... Like, he's not going to fall for that, you know? And Cats had his work up against him. There's a few players that I think Cats would have a better chance of beating. But as I said earlier about Beyond, there's not many players that can beat him, and the same is said for Nurchio.
Nurchio is looking to equal the streak of Beyond. Consider how crazy an event this has been that we've had 2 players of that caliber able to do that. One more game, he equals Beyond's score.
Beyond was at 8-0?
8-0. Yeah, before we
Wow.
lost.
And
Nurchio's
what was
at
Innovations?
7. Innovations is 10.
I mean, that's still pretty damn good.
Yeah, so it's going to take a lot to beat that, but...
Doable.
It is, and I think maybe even the caliber of player that Nurchio was actually beaten to get to that point is arguably better than what Innovation had to beat. So, it's impressive. However, we are not out of Koreans yet. We have one more that we can use. Will it be enough? That's a good question. I love watching this guy play Terran versus Zerg. I love watching this guy play in general. He has shown an incredibly strong performance this season in the GSL. Round of 4 performance.